It's all about mindset, going from having a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, because your mindset and your beliefs can impact your attitude. It can impact your actions. It can impact your growth.
Welcome to the Going Long Podcast. We're back once again to continue to help to educate you so that you feel much more comfortable as well as confident investing beyond your backyard. And yes, I'm your host, Billy Keels, and I am super excited for you to dive into today's conversation. You are going to love this one. High energy, high impact, and yeah, just talk about long distance. This is really long distance, and I know you're going to love it. So, but before that, just a couple of quick things I want to share with you. As you know, the podcast continues to move up the charts, and a lot thanks to the honest written reviews as well as ratings that you're leaving. If you have not had a chance to do that, please feel free to leave your honest written review as well as rating, something that I definitely go through, something that we are using to modify, change, adapt this podcast so that you get the best out of every single conversation. And for those of you that are also interested in finding like those conversations that are way back in the archives, like way before we got started, even before we were a top 1.5% podcast globally, like you can find all those on billykeels.com. When you go there, just go to the podcast tab, look up, you can find the video version, the audio version. You'll love it. billykeels.com. Once you're there, just go to the podcast tab and you will find every single episode ever. You'll also find a lot of different resources throughout the website and stuff like that. So go check it out. And then lastly, for those of you that are accredited investors and you are interested in becoming a part of our accredited investor club, please send an email to aiclub@billykeels.com. I'll have a conversation with you, get talking with you, and see if you want to be a part of the Accredited Investor Club. This is the place to be. It's grassroots. We're just getting started, and I know you're going to love it. So send an email to aiclub@billykeels.com. Now, as for today's conversation, wow, this is going to be really awesome. I know you're going to love this because today's guest not only is an Army veteran, which absolutely thank her for her service. It has been investing in real assets since 2011 and have been doing that from Kuwait. Yes. And so you're going to hear about like what it's like to buy your first property when you're tens of thousands of kilometers, miles away, having family members and handymen kind of manage things for you, seeing an evolution from that to like, what are the different things that you can see, learn from, how education is super important, and then building networks, especially when you're long distance investing in the way that, that she's doing it. You also, you're going to find out this evolution, not moving just from investing and buying small houses, but then beginning to invest as a limited partner. And then from there, even going on to co-manage and co-lead syndication. So you're going to get a great amount of insight here that you can take away, that you can put into play for your goals, your dreams, so that you can get there much faster. You're going to learn a lot of that from Keishia Kennedy, and you're going to learn that just after this. Whether you're an active investor or a passive investor, you really like your day job and you want to continue to go into your day job every single day feeling better, knowing that you've created the right options for yourself. At the same time, you just don't have enough time to really get your head around, spend all the hours investing long distance. Well, one way or the other, over the last number of years that I have been investing long distance, I've really understood a number of the major mistakes that you should avoid if you want to get to creating the right options for yourself much faster and being able to create more income sooner. And if you want to do that, if you want to understand more about that, I've made it really simple. You can just go to billykeels.com/7 mistakes to avoid. You can learn all the things that the 7 major mistakes that I've seen over and over again that I want you to avoid. Once again, you can go to billykeels.com/7 mistakes to avoid. You know what? If you want to know what it takes to build your long distance investing business as well as network while living in the Middle East, then guess what? Today's the conversation that you're going to want to listen to until the very last word. You know why? Because today's guest not only is an Army veteran with 6 years of service as well in the Army National Guard, at the time was an HR specialist deployed to Kuwait. Since then, and probably before then, has various educational degrees, a Bachelor of Science in Chemistry, a Bachelor of Science in Exercise Science, as well as a BA in Homeland Security. Amazing. Listen, also, she began investing in real estate in 2011, and today she's focused on building a multifamily portfolio, as well as building strong partnerships with investors, lenders, and other real estate professionals. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome to today's conversation the founder of Kennedy Remedy Investments, Keishia Kennedy. Keishia, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, BK, for having me. I'm so excited to be here today.
You know what? You're not more excited than I am, because I am super excited because everybody that's part of the Going Long family is going to be like really wild about your story today. This is really, really amazing. I'm super excited that you accepted the invitation to be here and share your story today, because it's going to be awesome. So, as you know, Keishia, everybody gets the same 5 questions. Every single guest gets the same 5 questions. The thing is, you're going to get 2 in the beginning, you're going to get 3 in the end, and then kind of in the middle, we're just going to get to know a lot about you and all of the experience that you have in sharing with the Going Long family. So, I'm going to make a little bit of a change on my very first question, which is I've already kind of given it away a little bit, but that's okay. So help us understand, where do you actually live in the world?
All right. So as he mentioned, I do live in the Middle East. I live in a country called Kuwait, which is an hour flight from Dubai.
Fantastic.
But I am an American and I am from the Richmond, Virginia area.
Fantastic. All right. From Richmond, Virginia, and now I calls home Kuwait. So this guy's from Columbus, Ohio, and now I call Barcelona, Spain home. So we've got a lot in common living in that outside of the US, but which is awesome. So with that, also too, we love starting out the program here, the show, with some positivity. So help us understand, what's the most positive thing that's happened to you in the last 24 hours?
Yes, this actually happened last night, and it's very positive because I am a co-GP on a 56 unit in Waco, Texas. And so I'm helping to raise capital. And I got my first accredited investor last night. So I'm so pumped up, and that's the most positive thing that has happened. And I'm just so excited about it.
Yes. Congratulations. Awesome. And it's always nice as you continue to be able to bring on new investors, help them get their goals achieved, and being able to do that. So congratulations to you and having your accredited investor on board. Fantastic. So here's the thing, Keishia, and as you probably know, like I give myself this really, like, it's almost, it's impossible, but I always like to challenge myself a little bit, trying to tell your entire like backstory in 2.5 seconds. Not ever going to happen. So do us a favor, please help the Going Long family understand more about you, also more about kind of what you've done to get to this point in your journey. But if you could, Keishia, could you also talk to us about some of the major decisions that you've made to get to this point in your journey? And then from there, we'll kind of see where you and I take the conversation.
Yeah, sure. So I started investing in 2011. And prior to this, I had no education on investing. He mentioned some of the degrees that I've earned in the past, but guess what? Financial literacy is not taught in college, in high school, or anywhere. And so my family did own some property. My grandmother has had property. My great-grandfather has had property. My father has had property. But guess what? No one sat me down and educated me on investing in real assets. So in 2011, when I deployed to Kuwait as a contractor, I had started investing. That was when the market first crashed. So I bought my first house for $29,500 in Richmond, Virginia, and it came with the lot next door. It was a bank foreclosure. I was so excited, had no idea what I was doing. I purchased it all the way from Kuwait, and I had my parents go out and view the property. And I said, "Hey, can you check out this property? I have no idea what I'm doing." And they were like, "Yeah, it's good to go." So I purchased my first property. I was so excited, right? And I rented it out the next year. And my father, I still have a copy of my first check, and I was just so proud. And so the next year, I had purchased a second home, and the cycle just continued, and I just started learning on my own, learn as you go, self-taught. And fast forward to this year, I said, hey, I want to scale. I want to build my portfolio up, not just with residential and duplexes, but I want to own an apartment complex. I had that growth mindset. Prior to it, I had fixed mindset, just only residential. But I started reading, I started educating myself this time around, and I came across the word called apartment syndication. And I'm like, what the heck is this? Started listening to podcasts and educating myself and surrounding myself by like-minded people. And that's how my journey started in the multifamily commercial space. So I invested in my first deal in Richmond, Virginia, 27 units. I was so excited with my partners. And I actually was home at the time. I wired the money from Kuwait and I went home on vacation in May and I got to actually tour the property. So guess what? I was so excited. This was the start of my new journey. I took pictures, I did videos, and I posted on social media. And I just had so many people reach out to me and congratulate me, those that knew me prior to my residential investing. And so they were just as excited as I was. And, that piqued a lot of interest. And then my next asset that I invested in was 81 units in Florence, Kentucky. I didn't go see it, but guess what? I know that I have equity in that deal and I did it passively. I am a limited partner in that deal passively while reaping the benefits such as tax benefits, refinance, get my money back, my capital back, and then also net proceeds when they sell. But let me go back to the Richmond, Virginia deal. Each deal is different. And so for this Richmond, Virginia deal, they have many exit strategies. But in year 2 or year 3, I cannot recall because I'm in so many deals, I will get 100% of my capital back. So I am so excited about that. And then the exit strategy, one of them is that they're going to sell the units as condos. So can you imagine how much I'm going to get back from my initial capital? So yeah, that was the first deal. And then going back to the second deal, 81 units in Florence, Kentucky. And then fast forward in July, I invested in 2 more deals as a limited partner in Columbia, South Carolina. That is a student housing, and that is 24 units. And then in Scranton, Pennsylvania, that's 19 units, that's student housing. And so since July, from May to July, I am in a total of 151 units. And as of today, I am also a co-GP, a general partner, in on a deal in Waco, 56 units that I am helping raise capital, as I mentioned earlier. And I'm also a limited partner in that deal. So, man, this year has just really taken off for me. And it's all about surrounding yourself by like-minded people, getting that education, and you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So I am just, every day I think about real estate. I think about how many people I'm impacting, the lives that I'm impacting. So I'm impacting the community, because we're going in there and we're doing value add, because a lot of people cannot afford to purchase a home, but this apartment is their home. So when we go in and we make the renovations, we're not only profiting, but we are also helping the tenants, the community, making an impact on their lives. And we're also, partnering with other investors. And it's just a beautiful thing to be able to help someone and see the look on their face.
Yeah. So, there's a lot that we could unpack from that. And at the end of the day, when you're making an impact on specific communities and you do see those smiles and you see that people are happier because the place that they're living, it also, aside from having a financial reward, it makes you actually have a personal feel good in that you're making a positive impact somewhere. You took us down. You took us down a couple of tracks, and one of the things that I'm really, really interested, because I'm sure that people are like, well, okay, well, yeah, that's cool. But you mentioned that you bought your very first property. You were living in Kuwait at the time, right? And so I will get kind of right to the point. One of the things I love for you to share is, like, I know, and I always thought, like, I kind of take it to an extreme because I'm living in Europe and investing back in the US. But most of the books that we read, or the podcasts that we listen to, or the I don't know, even the videos that we watch, it really, some of them state it explicitly, but some of them kind of are implicitly stating, hey, listen, if you want to be a landlord, then you probably need to purchase the property in the place that you live, right? Meaning, well, if you live in Barcelona, buy in Barcelona. If you live in Kuwait City, buy in Kuwait City. Now, I went against the grain. You've fundamentally gone against the grain. Not only did you buy your first property while living in Kuwait, and that was back in Virginia, but you've since then, over a span of a number of years, at least I think it's somewhere like 10 years, and then you decided that you wanted to even accelerate beyond that. So the question I would love to have you ask is, why? Like, what was it in you that said, it's okay to actually build my portfolio, build my network in a place that I don't actually physically live? Because a lot of people are afraid to do that.
Yes, yes. So it's all about partnership when it comes to syndication. So you have your general partner and you have your limited partners. And the limited partners invest passively, where the general partners, they are the expertise. So they know the area, they're the boots on the ground. And I am trusting in the general partner to make the best decision for my investment. So I am vetting my general partners, all the partners on the deal, finding out their track record. How long have they been investing in real estate? What failures have they faced? How have they mitigate those failures? Just questions and vetting them, and also reviewing the underwriting to make sure that it's done conservatively and stress testing it as well. So once I see that the numbers work, I am ready to invest my capital because I know it's a great asset. It's in a good area, location, and of course, their track record. So I am leveraging their experience and their expertise as a syndicator and a sponsor on the deal.
Which is great. So being able to leverage the experience and the efforts of others is something that is absolutely key. And as you talked about it in the beginning, like long distance investing is really about partnerships and making sure that you are able to do it. But even without the partnerships, initially, like you were literally living in Kuwait and you bought your first property. And so with that first property that you bought, I know my story, but when you bought that first property, were you managing it yourself from Kuwait? Like, how did that work?
Man, it was definitely a self-taught lesson. Yes. Like I mentioned earlier, I purchased it from Kuwait. All of my properties have been purchased sight unseen. So I'm an expertise at that, right? And my parents, they managed it for me while I was over here. As of today, I am still managing my rental portfolio from my computer using apartments.com for my payment information. And then, of course, we do e-sign for all the documentation, the leases, the house rules, etc. But yeah, for my first property, my parents managed it. So their names were on the lease and they were the landlord for me. They had a specific power of attorney. And I just trusted my parents to make the best decision for me. And so I have the same handyman that I've had for the last 10 years. He's definitely a blessing in my business. And he has allowed me to expand. We have a great working relationship. He does all of my renovations. And he started with me with my first home. And that's who we trust to this day.
Perfect. And so you use a word that's really relevant there, right? You trust someone. So you've been working with this person for over 10 years.
Right.
Not everybody starts with their very first investment leading a 280 unit apartment building, right? So I want to stick on this for a bit because I started in a very similar way that you did. And I think that there are a lot of us around the globe that have done similar things. We realize that the US markets in general, or the different locations in the US can provide benefits that many of the countries around the world cannot, which is probably one of the reasons that we go there. But one of the things in having family work with you, and there's a lot of positive things there when it's obvious that if you continue to have a member of your team, the handyman you're talking about has been with you 10 years, that you've had enough success that it's gone well over time, right? So there's this trust that's been there. At the same time, could you maybe share one of the things that you found, even after all the experience of over 10 years that you have, that can still be a little bit of a challenge?
A challenge. That's a good question. I will refer to a flip that I did do. And this was not my expertise. And I just thought that I can just go purchase a home and do the same steps as if I were renting it out. And that was a big learning lesson. So I purchased the home. It was a bank foreclosed home. I took out a hard money loan. The asset sat on the market for a very long time, and I did not expect it at all. So that was definitely a lesson learned. So before I go into different asset classes, I'm definitely investing in education. So getting a coach, mentor, doing more research, because I cannot use the same steps that I did with rentals with flips. But I did sell the property, but I didn't make as much as I had planned to. So that was definitely a big challenge in my business. And I've only flipped one home. I am not an expert at all.
Okay. So but you have had that opportunity. So you had a lesson that you learned from that. It's something that was outside of your wheelhouse, for lack of a better term. And it's also something that you tried. And I guess based on that experience, you've decided, hey, look, you're going to put your energy and efforts other places and get better return on your time. So appreciate you sharing that with us, because I think sometimes we're like, yeah, everything's perfect and it works. And I'm like, I promise you, it doesn't always work perfectly. So wow, don't you just love this conversation? This is amazing. This is fantastic. And so just really quickly, I just wanted to remind you, for those of you that are looking to create more options for yourself, get there faster, and do that with long distance investing, make sure that you go to billykeels.com/7 mistakes to avoid, so that you can avoid all those mistakes, get to your goals faster and sooner. Once again, that's billykeels.com/7 mistakes to avoid. Now back to the conversation. So we also talked in the beginning. It seems from your background that the education is something that's very, very important. Not only based on the degrees that you've attained, but also you've talked about it here in a number of times where you've mentioned the just education, even moving into the real estate space. So maybe you could talk to us a little bit about the role that it's played and how that's led to a lot of the success that you have been able to achieve to date.
Yes. So, man, investing in yourself is one of the best decisions that you can ever do. I'm telling you, as I mentioned earlier, it was a failure with my flip home, right? It was a success because I did eventually sell it. But I knew when I went into the commercial space that I had to find a coach, a mentor that's going to guide me. And so I won't have to make those same mistakes that I made from the flip house, because I'm learning from their mistakes. I'm learning from their experience, right? And their expertise, and they're going to help me and guide me along the way. So in April, I reached out, and I have actually, as of today, I have 3 different coaches, because I'm always trying to excel. So I'm in 3 different masterminds. My first coach, Mike Ely, he has changed my life forever, because he's the first coach. He's my first coach. So he always has a special heart he always has a special place in my heart, if you're out there listening. And
big shout out to Mike. I'm sure he's watching and listening. If not, he will be now.
Yes. So he was my first coach, and it was all about mindset. I had a fixed mindset prior, but once I joined and followed his guidance, Mike Ely, and I met him in person in August, I met him in person. So I had my mother and my brother there as well in Ohio. And so, yeah, he has changed my mindset. He has allowed me to have the confidence that I have today. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't even be raising capital, because I wouldn't have never had the guidance and the steps to be successful as a general partner. So hire and invest in a coach. If you want something, then do it. If you want to lose that weight, invest in a personal trainer. If you want to learn how to swim, invest in a coach to help you swim. Invest in yourself, and you will see the results. So that is my first coach.
Before you go on, and I know Mike would also appreciate this. So actually, Mike showed you the path, but it's thanks to you and the action that you've taken that you're beginning to get the results and moving forward. So I just because I know that you're into that, and I know that the Going Long family, as they're listening, probably but Keishia, you're doing all the work. So yes, as you have coaches and you have mentors, they provide you the path, but it's really up to each and every one of you. And Keishia, you're a perfect example of this, that you have to take the steps, and then you have to be open to getting the feedback that your coach is going to provide you, so that you can continue to accelerate and move towards the goals that you want to. So sorry, just to make sure that it's crystal clear. So sorry, go ahead.
That is true, because a lot of people that started with me are no longer in the program. So you do have to put in the work. You have to, you're absolutely right. I am 8 hours ahead of Eastern Standard Time, just like you are. And we are actually putting in the sweat equity to get to where we are today. So I have no excuses. I'm staying up late at night. I'm getting up early in the morning. I'm making those phone calls that people are dreading. I am doing the work to get to where I'm going. So you're absolutely right.
Oh yeah. So sorry, you were talking about there were other people that you wanted to mention, I think. They're making an impact.
Yes. So I just recently joined about a month ago and Making It Happen with Marco. That's a second coach of mine. And that's where I was allowed to that's when the opportunity presented itself so I can be a general partner on the Waco, Texas deal. Mm-hmm. Okay. So that's the second one. Very powerful group. Always motivating, inspiring. And it's like I said, you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And it's all about surrounding yourself with that network, because that network is your net worth. That is a true statement. That's how I'm able to be so successful today, by surrounding myself by like-minded people. I am constantly either reading, or I am listening to a podcast, or I am on YouTube, or I'm doing my education for one of my coaches, that's providing me the tools to be successful. And now I'm in a third mastermind that I just signed up for. I am with Hunter and Raise Masters because my superpower is education. Educating as many people as possible on apartment syndication. I want everyone to know what I'm doing. I want everyone to watch my journey so I can inspire each and everyone to invest in real estate. That is what brings me joy. Speaking about my ups, my downs, my success, my failures, and putting it out there on social media, because a lot of people only put out the good, but I want you to see the good and the bad and how I reached my goal. So that's what I love about raising capital, because I get to speak to everyone all over the world, the States, Europe, Asia. I get to speak to a lot of people, and I am educating them. There's enough money in this business to go around. So there's no need for me to be selfish, right?
Yeah,
so yes.
No, yeah, definitely. Shouts out to Hunter as well. One of the things I forgot to say one thing that's really, really important to me. I also would like to, myself and the Go Along family, thank you for your service. That is something that I forgot to mention in the beginning. So thank you very much. I really, really appreciate that. And I'm glad that you're sharing that path as well, because it is about sharing the good, the bad, and the ugly, because there's nothing that's perfect. And if everything looks perfect all the time, then there's probably something that's not being put out there or something that's being hidden. So that transparency is also a very good thing. One of the other things, and so you mentioned this kind of, and then I'm going to pivot a little bit, but I know that you happen to really, really love fitness. And that's something that is important to you. And I also happen to know that you had a business for a while as a bond bailsman. And so I would love for you to tell us a little bit about how in the world, you started your own bail bondsman business and fitness. How do these fit in, and how are they helping you? How are these experiences helping you today in terms of being able to connect with others?
Yes, you did your homework, I see. Very good, very good. So I started a bail bonds business, and the brand was Breaking the Chains Bail Bonds. This was in 2014 when I went back home for 3 years once I left Kuwait at the end of my last contract. And my father, he owned a private security company. So he piqued my interest when it came to being a bail bondsman. And so I got my certification, and I truly enjoyed being a bail bondsman and running my own business. I got my entrepreneur spirit from my father, because he owned a martial arts school and a private security company, and I used to work for him after college. And so it just brings me joy to help other people, just like I'm helping people now with real estate. But I was helping people that were in unfortunate situations. And I would wake up in the middle of the night when they called, and I would go to the jail and bond them out, and I would meet their family. And even if they couldn't get to court, I would still go pick them up and take them to court. So I really did enjoy being a bondsman. And some people still reach out to me, and I said, hey, I'm no longer in the business, but thank you for reaching out. And thankfully, I had no one that skipped. I had a great relationship with all of my clients, and they truly loved working with me. So that's how I was able to get a lot of my clients was from referrals. So I enjoyed Breaking the Chains Bail Bonds. It was a good chapter in my life. And so you asked about fitness. So when I came back to Kuwait the second time in 2017, because of the bail bonds in business, I'll be honest, I was stressed out. I was eating out all the time, fast food on the go constantly. And so I gained a lot of weight. So I made a promise to myself when I came to Kuwait that I am going to lose the weight. And that's what I did. In February 2017, I hired a trainer at the gym and I put 100% forward. I switched from that fixed mindset to that growth mindset. And because your mindset can control a lot of your thoughts and your actions, right? So I hired a coach and I lost the weight that year in 2017. I felt amazing because prior I had high blood pressure and diabetes runs in our family. So I already knew I was slowly killing myself, slowly. And I felt great. And so the following year, my trainer said, you should do this recreation bodybuilding show. And I'm like, okay, why not? Right. And so that's exactly what I did. My first show in Kuwait on the military installation. And I did win 4th place in the bikini division. So I enjoyed the experience. So that's how I got started with bodybuilding. So now I am a figure bodybuilder. I am a sponsored figure bodybuilder here in Kuwait by a gym and a meal prep company. And I also had started a business called Kennedy Remedy Fitness. I went back to school. I got my associate's degree in exercise science, as if I needed another degree, right? And then I went back and got a bachelor's degree in exercise science with various fitness certifications, and the military paid for it. So why not? Why not get another degree and do something that you enjoy doing? So this year, I did close down the business. I was running online. I had an app, and I had clients in the States and here, but I am still competing, and I plan on taking the stage again next year.
So that's really awesome. So you've given us these kind of 2 insights about getting started with your business and then how that has helped you then to start another business or around something that was a personal a desire and goal for you, which was around fitness, right? You had your own personal challenge that you wanted to make sure that you got a coach. Once again, there's a clear pattern here in terms of the patterns for success. And I think this is important to recognize patterns. This is one of the things that I want the Going Long family to recognize in the story that you're telling. And with that, but I want you to now tie these 2 together, right? Because the Bail Bondsman business, which got you started in that entrepreneurial career, which was sparked by your father, once again, even though he was also probably had something to do with the real estate and your grandparents before that. But how do these 2 experiences now helping you with Kennedy Remedy Investments?
So as I mentioned, it's all about mindset, going from having a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, because your mindset and your beliefs can impact your attitude. It can impact your actions. It can impact your growth. So allowing me to start those 2 businesses and progress has helped me to venture back into real estate. And the reason why I went back to real estate was because I see the financial freedom. I see the generational wealth that it has built over the last 10 years. So I can only imagine how much success that I'm going to get from the commercial space.
Okay, perfect. Which I appreciate you sharing that, because every experience that we have, whether it's a positive experience or otherwise, is another layer of experience that we can take to the next opportunity that we're either creating and that we come across, and it helps, right? So every single opportunity is something that's really, really important. And I appreciate you kind of laying that out for us, so that once again, that the Going Long family can see and recognize that pattern, so that when they're going through an experience, they recognize, okay, well, look, this is just another one of the experiences on my way to whatever that goal of becoming really is. So
always trusting the process, believing in yourself, never giving up, just continue going and going and going until you reach your goal, because you're going to continue to climb up that big mountain and you're going to reach success. And that's what I'm doing. I am a testimony all the way from Kuwait in the Middle East, when there's a big time difference, when most of the business that I am investing in is taking place in the States. So there's really no excuse. It's all about how bad do you want it? And that's the same mindset that I use with bodybuilding. I know that there are other bodybuilders that are going to wake up early in the morning and do their cardio and go to the gym, and they want it bad enough. And guess what? I want it bad enough too. Keishia in Kuwait, because that's my new hashtag. Keishia in Kuwait wants it bad enough as far as bodybuilding and as far as real estate. I want everyone to win, and I want to win as well.
Fantastic. Keishia in Kuwait, Billy in Barcelona. and we can everybody can find and catch out what's going on. So listen, one last thing before we get into the going long final three, because this is something that is really important, because as you are hashtag Keishia in Kuwait, building in partnerships and understanding whether you're doing it if you're going to invest your capital, i.e. your goals, dreams with someone else, right? And being very specifically as a limited partner, or you are helping to attract others as a general partner, someone who's leading a syndication or co-leading a syndication. A lot of it comes down to the understanding the operator, right? You mentioned that earlier before as well. Maybe talk to that person who today is living in, I don't know, somewhere in Norway or somewhere in, I have no idea, Turkey. And they're thinking, well, you know what? This sounds really, really awesome. I know that Billy's doing this. I know that Keisha's doing this, but how in the world would I actually find out if the operator is competent and knows what they're doing, and they are going to be the best, they're going to give me the best probability of getting the return that I'm expecting? Like, how would someone go about, or how do you go about due diligence on an operator?
Yeah. So again, I go back to their track record. I look at their underwriting. I ask them, have they been in a full cycle? So what does that mean? Have they completed a full cycle of the syndication? So from start to beginning, what happened from start to beginning? And if they aren't willing to share that information, then I know that this is not the operator for me. I need someone that's going to be transparent, because think about it. When you're investing with that person. So that means just like when you're buying a house with your spouse, you're investing with that person. So you have to have that connection, that integrity. And if you aren't getting it from the beginning, imagine what you're going to get once you get into that syndication, if they're not being transparent with you. So always do your due diligence, look at the underwriting, ask as many questions as possible. And if they're getting frustrated, then they are not the sponsor for you.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. And I appreciate you once again sharing that. So looking at things like track record, understanding, being able to ask questions, get the responses that make sense to you in the way that makes sense to you from the sponsorship team and specifically from the operator. Wow. So here's the thing, like I want to keep asking you a bunch of questions, but like we've got to get to the going long. We got to get to the going long final three. That's the thing. And the thing is, here's the thing, Keishia. I never ask anybody the going long final three unless they tell me. And today, since you're our special guest, unless you tell me that you're ready to answer the going long final three. Are you ready?
I am ready.
I love it. You are absolutely ready. Yes. So here we go. So listen, like we're gonna have to do this a little bit differently, but because normally I go to the west of me, but now today I'm going to go to the east of myself. And so listen, I'd like to bring you over here to the west a little bit and help us understand, what is your favorite European city that you've either visited or still on your bucket list to visit?
Sure. I have traveled to many places based off of my passive income from 10 years ago. So I'm telling you guys, invest. However, to answer your question, this is a fun fact about me. I was actually born in Germany. I graduated high school in Germany as well. So Germany will always be my number one when it comes to European countries, but I have visited many other countries. My father and mother calls me the Black German, so I am the Black German. So Germany would always be my number one place in Europe. And I was born in Schweinfurt and I graduated in Würzburg. Sprechen Sie Deutsch?
Sprechen Sie Deutsch? No.
Okay,
pero hablo francés, español, catalán, inglés y un poco de francés. Did I say French twice? I don't remember. Anyway, so no, I don't speak German. But it's all good. Maybe I'll learn German one day.
Yeah.
So which city did you say? I'm sorry.
I was born in Schweinfurt.
And
I graduated in Würzburg.
Okay, we'll go with Schweinfurt, if that's okay with you. I know I messed it up, but that's all good. It's all good. You'll help us out because it has to be in the show notes. So we'll get in the show notes later on. Okay. So here we go. So going to question number 2 of the Going Long Final 3. And this is one of the things that it's basically because I'm very fortunate, right? And especially having a platform like this and meeting lots of people that are super, extremely successful people. And One of the things that I always love to share with the Going Long family is, because you're a very successful person as well, Keishia, you've focused on a lot of things and you've been able to do a lot of things, is have you share your experience with others. But as I've noticed with really successful people, like one of the main reasons that they tend to be very successful is because they tend to do things perfectly the first time, don't make mistakes, and I think I messed that up again. I always get like really frustrated because I don't know what happens. Well, anyway, it's an inside joke. It's an inside joke with me and the Going Long. So everybody makes mistakes, right? Even the really successful people. And the thing is, the really successful people, the reality is, Keishia, they make a lot more mistakes than most people, like a whole lot more mistakes than most people. But the thing that's true, and this is all jokes aside, that I've recognized with really successful people is that they do one thing super, super, super differently, like very differently. Is that with every single mistake, the relevant ones, right, is that they stop and they really learn like what happened here. And then from what they learned, they take that lesson, and then they take that lesson, they put it in place to minimize the possibility or the probability of that same mistake happening again. So what I would love for you to share with the Going Long family, if you can think of, and whether you call it a learning opportunity or a mistake or whatever, you think about that. But more importantly, if you could extract, what's the one lesson that you know the Going Long family needs to know today so that they can minimize the probability of making the exact same mistake tomorrow? What is that one lesson?
Yes. And I'm going to go back to that flipping of the house, because that was definitely the biggest lesson that I learned. I did lose out on money, but I also made money. And the lesson learned there was get a coach, get a mentor, do your education. Don't rely on your own knowledge. Lean on the knowledge of a coach or someone that can help you to be successful and not be a failure. Because I sold it, but I was a failure because I would have been able to sell it a lot sooner had I had the correct guidance.
So make sure coach is an important part of your strategy and is part of your business plan, which absolutely makes sense. So everything we do is a learning opportunity. And I appreciate you sharing that with us, which brings us to question number 3, which is about helping to fill our brains here with knowledge. So what is the one book that you would recommend to the Going Long family today?
Yes, I'm actually reading it now. It's called Limitless. Your family has probably already heard of it, but it's by Jim Kwik. And I love his last name, Kwik, Kwik. Okay. He's known as the #1 brain coach. Have you read that book?
I have not personally read the book, but I know Jim Kwik very well. So
Okay. So one of the quotes is out of his book. It's if our mindset is not aligned with our desires or goals, we will never achieve them. So he teaches us an acronym, and he uses the 3 M's. So mindset, motivation, and methods is how to improve your brain and learn faster. And then he's always using acronyms throughout the book. So he uses the word FAST, FAST. So the letter F means forget everything you know, and you will not learn anything faster if you think you know it already, right? So we tend to think we do know. Well, some people tend to think that they know everything when they're trying to learn something new. So you need to F, forget everything that you know. A stands for active state. Always ask questions. Be active and take notes. The more active you are, the more you will learn. And S in the word fast stands for state. So all learning is state dependent. So your emotion is a state. Your learning is a state. And then the last letter is T for teach. Learn as if you were teaching someone else. And also, because of this book, I have been writing daily affirmations. And I always start with 2 words. That is the 2 most important words, which is I am. So I know that I am an educator. I know that I am an investor. I know that I am a reader. So check out this book. It is called Limitless, and become limitless.
Fantastic. So Limitless, Jim Kwik. And I can't believe these conversations go by so fast. Like, this is amazing. Like, we're already at the end of the conversation. And I'm just thinking, like, we started from your very first comment. I know I mentioned that you had multiple degrees, and then you talked about, well, yeah, even though you had these multiple degrees, there was something that was missing because there was like this lacking of financial literacy. And so even though you at home were very, very fortunate to have parents that were involved in real estate, like you saw that, but you didn't really get the financial education around it. And so after all of being deployed, you decided, well, you know what? 2011, it was probably a good time to get started in real estate, even though you were tens of thousands of kilometers, miles away. And so you bought your very first property, sight unseen, had your family be able to manage that for you. We're fortunate to get the right handyman who's since been with you for a really long time. Then at a certain point, you're like, hey, listen, this is kind of cool, but I want to trade these little kind of greenhouses in for a big red hotel, sort of speak, and get into the multifamily space. And then from there, you decided, because that foundation that you have, which is around education, you started getting your education, then you started taking action. From there, you started surrounding yourself with the right people. And as you surrounded yourself with the right people, not only were you investing your time, your energy, your capital with others through limited partnerships, you've since evolved, still doing that, right? Doing limited partnerships and investing and putting your money, your capital to work, providing you more free time. Like you talked about travel, which is one of the things that you love to do. You're now even taking the next step to help to bring and attract other people towards you in co-leading and leading other types of sponsorship opportunities. And so I know that I'm going to get the chance to talk to you a lot more. And I know that there's so many people around the globe that are like, wow, she's in Kuwait and she's doing this thing. I thought Billy was doing it. Man, she's like even like taking it to the next level. So help us understand, me and the entire Going Long family, what is the best way to get in touch with you, Keishia, to find out more about you, more about what is happening as well at Kennedy Remedy Investments, and how can we connect with you?
Yes. So I do have a free guide that I would love to give to your listeners. It is the guide to becoming a limited partner in an apartment syndication, right? And in that guide, it goes over the definition of what is a limited partner, the benefits of the limited partner, questions to ask your sponsor, and it also has a sample deal so that you can review so you can look at a sample deal. And you can find that guide on my website. It is Kennedy, Kennedy, Remedy, REMEDY, investments with an s.com/guide. And of course, my website is Kennedy Remedy Investments. And then you can find me on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. My name is Keishia and it's spelled Keishia, last name Kennedy, like the president. And I'm also on Facebook, same name, Keishia Kennedy. And I also have a business page on Facebook, Kennedy Remedy Investments. And I'm also on everywhere. So Instagram, Kennedy Remedy on Instagram. And I'm also on Twitter and on Pinterest. And I will let him leave that in the show notes. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, Keishia, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And yes, you got me there. So we are definitely going to include those in the show notes. So it's easy for everyone in the Going Long family to connect with you. I always ask everybody, especially when you're reaching out on LinkedIn specifically, let Keishia know that you invested your time listening to her story here, because that's going to help the two of you connect and continue the conversation. So with that stated, Keishia, I would like to thank you from the very bottom of my heart for investing your time, your energy, your experiences with me and the entire Going Long family today. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
All right, my pleasure. And just a couple quick words for the Going Long family. Wow, another great, amazing conversation. I know that you loved this conversation with Keishia, so make sure you reach out to her, connect with her, and learn more about her experience, and build a relationship with Keishia that way. So, I know in the meantime, I am super, super excited, and I'm looking forward to welcoming you back to the very next conversation. So until then, go out and make it a great day, and thank you very, very much. Wow, don't you love hearing from top-notch experts in the field? You know, when I was getting started, I really wish that I would have had access to such experts. And even more, I wish they would have given me like a really simple list of things to follow so that I could have gotten to my goals much faster and been much happier even sooner. So that's why I've created for you the 7 things that you should avoid in order to be successful in long-distance investing. And you can pick that up really easily by going to billykeels.com/7 things to avoid. And also, if you liked today's episode, don't forget to leave a 5-star review. I'm looking forward to seeing you on our very next episode, so go out and make it a great day.